We're going to begin our next set of presentations with information from Sarah Bircher regarding communities and schools. As a brief reminder, if you have questions, please use the Q&A feature that is next to the chat. Questions for the presenters will be saved for the end of the session so they can be addressed by the panelists and presenters. Sarah?
Hi, thank you so much, Rohana. Communities and Schools is so excited to be with you today. Just a little bit about myself. I am with Texas Education Agency, and I'm the student program, mental health program manager. And I'm on the team of counseling, advising, and student support. So we come together as a team to collectively support students and communities and parents in multiple ways. So we are a team of 3 here at TEA, and what we do is we support the 27 community and school affiliates as they do amazing work in their communities, in their regions across Texas. I'm going to give a direct overview, and then I'm going to introduce you to some amazing affiliates in fact, as they move through their mental behavioral health programming and how they are driving in and supporting students on the Tier 2 level. So just a high overview of communities and school philosophy. We understand that students often struggle in school because there's factors outside of the classroom, that those supports must be individualized and delivered or created a strong relationship with one caring adult. One of the things that site coordinators do is they work with the campus administration and drive the school goals through their case managed students in a very integral way. Thank you. So currently, communities and schools, like I said, there's 27 affiliates across Texas, and they have served 201 districts. And amazingly, 100% within those districts served are through each education service center. They are serving 1,400, a little over 1,400 schools, and those campuses, 94% of them are Title I eligible, and 38% of the campuses received a C or not rated. And so those are the targets for moving forward and supporting the work in this area. Thank you. So currently we have this really awesome graphic that shows where each affiliate supports in their work. I wanted to show this visual. So as you move forward and you have interest in connecting, we will have a link at the end, but also you can say, oh, I'm here. I can get connected to communities and schools in my area. There, like I said, thank you. There are 27 affiliates, but we're also a part of a national communities and schools that is serving many campuses and multiple states across the United States. So as we move through, we are going to dig into the communities and schools model. So in this model, what we do is we really understand that all these components are integrated together, that we work with the CIS affiliates who are in each region, site coordinators are on each campus, and there are collaborative partners who are connected together from the community to support students, families, and community in every way. When a site coordinator moves onto a campus, they do a needs assessment, not only through the lens of the community, but also the individual lens for students. They take that information and data that they get from the needs assessment, and they create an individualized plan, not only for the campus, but for the students as well. And then they start to deliver integrated student supports, which are evidence-based practices that will help to drive the individual goals and skill building of each student and campus. Along that process and the delivery of the Tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 supports, there is a component of monitoring and real-time adjusting once that data is collected. Is what I'm doing working with this student? Great, let me keep this best practice moving. If it's not, let me tweak. Maybe I need to tweak the practice just a little bit so they can have great success. And then there's going to be the evaluation at the end to make sure that the progress and the outcomes that were made for students really were long-term lasting outcomes. Thank you. And then just a little highlight before we start talking to our affiliates is that we really leverage and provide services in each one of these areas. Notice that in supportive guidance and counseling within the model, Communities in Schools does deliver mental and behavioral health practices from the behavioral health skill building side, all the way to some affiliates have licensed clinicians who can support students in that way. And if they don't have a licensed clinician on site or in their affiliate, then they make the referral to licensed counseling. We always do an assessment to make sure basic needs and community resources are accessed. They can, site coordinators often provide home visits, translation, consultation to families to really build that unit and that connection from student and school. They provide tutoring and advocacy on the academic side. We really drive enriched college and career awareness to support the counselors on the campus, as well as the programming that is existing for CCMP, as well as college career military prep, my apologies. And we also do enrichment, right? So there's after school programming, there's cultural activities, there's amazing projects and things that happen that are planned with that community to meet the needs of that community. So as we move into the next piece, I thank you so much for listening, and I would love to introduce Rosie Guzman and Gabby Martinez as they talk through their amazing Tier 2 work at Communities in Schools of Laredo.
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Gabby Martinez. I am a site coordinator and master trainer with Communities in Schools.
Good morning, I'm Rosie Guzman, and I'm Quality Assurance Specialist, Master Trainers at Communities in Schools of Laredo.
Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about thriving in mental wellness, and we're looking forward to sharing a lot of great information with you all. Can we go to the next slide?
So Communities in Schools of Laredo by the numbers. Who we are. Currently, we have a total of 44 employees in our affiliate. We service 5 districts: Laredo ISD, United ISD, Zapata County ISD, Jim Hope County ISD, and Tryon Public High Schools. These are the numbers for last year. Student mental health referrals, 91, and employee mental health referrals, 4 as of last year. And as you can see, these are the numbers for this year as of August 22 through October 2022. There's a total of 61 mental health referrals, a total of 3 employee mental health referrals, and currently we have 2 individuals that are pursuing a license in mental wellness, which is an LCDC and a social worker. Can we go to the next slide? So what's the goal of our program? For our students and families to achieve mental wellness, Communities in Schools of Laredo provide services to at-risk students through the support of our CIS model. We offer services in the areas pertaining to academics, attendance, behavior, and social services. In the past year, our local CIS program has made tremendous improvement by additionally providing wraparound services in mental health. Our site coordinators are enabled through trainings to help identify and coordinate services for students in need of mental health and wellness support. Can we go to the next slide?
So to begin our presentation, our 2 main areas of focus are how to thrive despite having no licensed professionals, and what contributes to our overall program success. Can we go to the next slide?
So you might ask yourself, how to thrive despite no licensed professionals? How can you do that? What can you accomplish if you don't have somebody licensed in your affiliate or in your organization that you work for? So you build capacity, you create non-binding forms, creating a good relationship with your campus administration, and community partnerships, and having the mentality of when there's a will, there's a way to do things. So in the past year, we have helped out our site coordinators build their capacity by, during our monthly staff developments, we provide different community resources for them to bring to their schools. Thanks to the support of Laredo Independent School District Guidance Department, all of our site coordinators are able to attend and obtain free of charge the first aid mental health training. Aside from that, taking care of our own, it's extremely important to us. That's one of the reasons our program implemented providing mental health referrals for our own employees, for them to be able to perform out in the field and be able to have that outlet of, if I need the support, I need it in order to help the families and the students that I'm helping. Like I mentioned, taking care of our own, and we also recently started implementing team building activities that create bonding moments and help our coordinators work together as a team, that later on they can take these activities and do them in group sessions with their own students. And creating non-binding forms. Due to the demand of mental health services, a crucial decision had to be made in our local program, which is we had to make forms where we could create partnerships with communities, agencies that will be able to offer mental health services to our students. In order for us to protect our coordinators, to protect the districts we serve, and to protect our families and students, we created these forms and we run the cost. Everything is paid by our local program through different grants that our program receives. And we cover a minimum of 6 sessions for our students. Our coordinators are the ones that coordinate the services for the students. They arrange the meetings with the outside agency that we work with, but always with the guidance and in partnership with the school counselor. Once we have everything in paper, the proper signatures, we submit that form and the process starts to move so the students can start receiving mental health services. There's a minimum of 6 sessions, but we offer as many as the student might need in order to reach that stable mental health wellness that they need. Once the student expresses that they're doing good, that they're at a moment where, okay, I'm good, I have already benefited from the sessions, that's when the session stops. If the families require sessions and they want for the child to receive more sessions, we're able to do that for the families as well. But again, always having the campus administration support, that's a big part of the forms we created. And in order to protect, again, our employees and the district we services. And the biggest part of it, the community partnerships. Without the help of the agencies that we work with, we wouldn't be able to do this for our families and the students we service. Can we go to the next slide? So everybody could see an example of the forms. This is an example of the forms that our local program created. These were the forms that were used last year. Every year we do an update to them, depending on the information provided by the school district. So if anybody is willing to start something like this, y'all could refer back to Ms. Sarah Bircher so she could provide you examples of these forms.
So how is it that the program is successful? What contributes to it? We are proud to say that we are currently in 39 campuses where we provide the tiers of support, which are done through integrating diverse activities that instill students and families about mental health, wellness, and support. As you can see, we involve parental engagement, where we work with not only the student, but also the families in bringing an awareness to the access of the different agencies we have in the community. We coordinators who work with their students, in teaching them the importance of kindness, building those skills. We provide support to students and their families with food, with hygiene, with clothing. We also collaborate with students about college and career military readiness, offering enrichment, not only to give back to the community, but more so to build a platform where our students can feel comfortable and they can build their social skills and build their self-esteem alongside with their confidence. Next slide.
In addition to what it's already been implemented at our 39 campuses, we currently have 5 schools under a mental wellness grant through the Hawk Foundation. The schools were chosen based on the school demographics, and these 5 schools are currently bringing school-wide preventive support, and each campus is tracking a more intensive group of students who are in most in need of mental wellness support. What are our site coordinators tracking? They track the students' academic improvement, they track the behavioral challenges that they're facing, and their attendance. Based on this, they go into more intensive cases where they do the tier 3s, the one-on-one with the students. And currently, some of the topics that we have heard from this 5 schools are areas of grief and loss due to COVID. They're working with LGBTQI community and self-esteem challenges that these students are facing. So far, those have been the strongest areas that we have heard and the feedback we have heard from the coordinators. We're also trying to push parental involvement, and we're hoping to keep this grant for years to come in order to cover all of our 39 schools. As of right now, it's only in 5, and this is our 2nd year with the Hawk Foundation grant, which has helped us tremendously in these 5 schools in order to provide more intensive, more preventive, also mental wellness awareness to the campuses. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, so the allowable cost and the systemic support. How are we spending monies on mental wellness? Basically, training our CIS staff, bringing trainings for parents and students, executive functioning supplies, what we provide our coordinators for activities and projects where they could work with the students more in a preventive manner, motivational speakers for parents and students, the cost of therapy that we cover through LPC referrals, basic need resources for the families, and something that we try to push a lot is the community outreach through our social media, awareness marketing on mental wellness. Can we go to the next slide? So, what better way to support everything we've been talking about than getting the feedback from the individuals, from our stakeholders that are getting the benefits through our program for their students. And here you have a quote from one of the principals from one of the Hawk schools that it's getting the benefit of mental wellness for his students.
We have Mr. Jose de Leon, principal at Lewis J. Christian Middle School. He states the program has enabled our students to feel like they belong and can ask for help. Through the assistance of CIS and the Hawk Foundation, we believe this is a pivotal stepping stone to help our students succeed as they continue their path in life. Next slide.
Another testimonial from Mr. Jose Snaola, principal at Cigarroa High School. Our partnership with Communities and Schools program has allowed us to develop student initiatives aim at improving our school environment and overall student performance. The implementation of the self-care toolkit and CIS Total vending machine has demonstrated to be valuable tools in improving our attendance rate, executive functioning skills, extracurricular participation, and academic achievement of our students. So as you can see, there's many areas that can be covered through mental wellness. What our program stands for is when we cover academics, attendance, behavioral, social service needs, every area covers mental wellness. Everything we do, the foundation of everything, it's mental wellness for our students. If a student is having some type of behavioral issue in the classroom, there's gotta be something having to do with mental wellness behind it. And that's our goal, to have all our schools, to have all our coordinators working towards that same goal of thriving for the best mental wellness for their students, the students we service out in our communities, and making the schools that we work a better place by bringing these services to our students and their families. Can we go to the next slide? And as of now, that's it on our part. And always remember, when there's a will, there's a way. And there's no areas that we cannot cover, because if like I mentioned, and I'll always push for that, if you have what it takes to bring the awareness to your students, you'll find people that will want to work with you. You will establish those partnerships with community resources. You will establish those relationships with community partnerships and bring what your students need in order for them to succeed and reach graduation.
So amazing. Thank you so much, Rosie and Gabby. We do see a couple of questions that I would like to address for just a moment. I see, what licenses are two employees pursuing, and how will these licenses support the work that they do in CIS? And so I read a couple things into that question. And so if I do not answer it completely or in the context you're referring, please clarify. But what I'm seeing in, there's multiple licenses, right? So just like in the clinical licensures, we have clinical social workers, we have licensed master's level social workers, we have licensed LMFTs, the marriage and family therapists, we have LPCs, licensed professional counselors. We have multiple licensures that can support students in a clinical way. One thing that I really want to emphasize here is that Communities in Schools definitely delivers a model. And within that model, a license is not necessary for the bulk of the work that we do in the skill development and in the support on the case management side. It is a great enhancement and a support that an affiliate can have for students if they have licensed clinicians or licensed practitioners that can provide in-house support for clinical services. So just wanted to talk through that. I think the knowledge of the graduate work, right? The graduate level work you get with a license, I think drives case management knowledge. It drives a comprehensive understanding. It drives a collaborative effort and an understanding of the work that we do together as a whole for students. So again, if I didn't tackle that, please let me know. I would love to hold the cost of the program after our next presenter goes, because I think that will have context. And so if there's no access to grants due to demographics, so what is the cost of? Yes, thank you so much. And I will address that in just a moment. So thank you so much. We have with us Tasha Moore, the amazing Tasha Moore from CIS of North Texas. And she is going to dive into the work that they do up in the north side of Texas. Thank you, Tasha.
Thanks, Sarah. Good morning. So happy to have a chance just to share some of the great things that our affiliate is doing and the work of our staff. On my next slide, I want to tell you just a little bit about where we serve and what that looks like. So currently for CIS of North Texas, we're serving school districts in Cook, Denton, and Wise County. Those school districts are Denton, Bridgeport, Gainesville, Lake Dallas, Louisville, and Northwest ISD. In total, though, that means there's 67 programs at 56 different campuses. And for us at our affiliate, we're offering both the CIS case management model, which is what you heard Sarah describe earlier, as well as we offer some after-school programming. So what I'm going to focus on, though, today is just the work that we're doing within our case management model. So on the next slide, we are a data-driven organization. CIS is always wanting to make sure that what we're doing is showing impact for kids. So opportunities to brag on ourselves. I won't read them, but you can just see when you have that community of support working in collaboration with the schools and the leadership on campus, the number of students being able to reach and the improvement that they're seeing. We're always very excited and very proud of the work that our staff do at the end of the year, because we can see where a student starts and their academic behavior and attendance. And as we move that needle, we're looking for those students in our program to improve. And so those are some of our stats, just looking at almost 90% in academics, 81% in behavior, and almost 80% in our students improving in those areas. We also look at, are they promoting to the next grade level on time? Are they graduating on time? And for the last almost 10 years, we have been extremely successful in hitting those high 90%. And this year, we were very excited to say, even after everything that's happened, we've had 100% of our students that participate in programs stay in school this year. So I always love to brag on our team. But what that does mean, if we go to our next slide, is that our students come from very diverse backgrounds, and a lot of our students come from hard places, and their families are working really hard. The students are working hard on campus, and so is the staff and the teachers. But when you break down kind of what are some of those things that the students are facing, or their students are coming into the classroom with, we have a high percentage who are on free and reduced lunch, which for us translates into, do they have access to the basic needs? Do they have reliable transportation, reliable housing? And so we're really looking to make sure we're supporting our students and families at that foundational level. We also have a population of students who English is not their first language. And so being cognizant of that, not only for the students, but for the parents, making sure that they know how that they can engage with the school and know that it is a safe place if they have questions and how to support their students in learning. We have a few pockets where homelessness and mobility are very high. And so 6% of our 5,000 plus students turns out to be a lot. And so working to make sure that those resources, that continuity of school as they might move from place to place, they still have that stable campus of origin to go to and that reliable adult. And then as well as having just students with incarcerated parents, it is hard enough to go through school with everything that's happened, but then to go through school sometimes without your parent or without that person who you had relied on has been a hard thing for some of our students. So with those things in mind that some of our students are facing, last year we saw 81% of our students that we worked with referred to a site coordinator for a mental or behavioral health need. And that can span anywhere from grief and loss to developing signs or symptoms of anxiety or depression, or just not quite sure how to navigate life. And so those are bringing up some stressors. So when our staff are assessing and they're looking at what's going to be most helpful and supportive, they're also looking at those behavioral and mental health needs. Because when the student's basic needs are met and their emotional and mental health needs are met, they're better equipped and ready to learn in the classroom. So that 81% is a pretty large percent of our students, and we have seen that increase over the last couple of years. When we think about our staff, we have probably 4 different groups of staff or individuals that work with our kids on campus. We have our site coordinators, who are there day in and day out as a person on campus, collaborating with the teachers, working with school admin to make sure that we're addressing the needs, not only of the students and families, but at the campus for improvement goals. We have 2 mental health coordinators who are both LMSWs, and they receive referrals from our site coordinators specifically for mental health. So if a site coordinator is working with a student and the student comes in and says, I'm really struggling, or this has happened, they can reach out to the mental health coordinators and say, I think you would really benefit for them to come meet you, for you to get to know them a little bit. And as they come out and do an assessment, they're able to determine, I, as a mental health coordinator, can provide some additional services around counseling and guidance. Or they might say, you know what, this is going to be some long-term work with you and your family. So let me make sure I connect you and give a really good, warm handoff to our community partner. It's going to look different student to student. But what our goal is with our mental health coordinators is that whatever the barrier of transportation, a lack of insurance or a lack of enough insurance, a family does not have to worry where they can find help for their student, but that a student can receive quality counseling free of charge, and be able to be in and out of those sessions and back into instructional time to minimize a lot of learning loss and to minimize that loss for the family having taken off from work and maybe potentially losing out on some income. We also have 2 family engagement specialists, again, who are helping to build those relationships with the campus, with the site coordinators. They work a lot with our families who English is not their first language, whether they're an immigrant family or they are a refugee family, making sure that they know this is a safe place and we want them to be healthy and successful and whole. And then lastly, our group that we work with a lot on campus to help support students is our interns and our AmeriCorps members. So when I talk about here in just a little bit how we build that foundation, this is the group of people, this is our team at North Texas that we're working to build that foundation with. About 6 years ago, we sat down as a staff and leadership and tried to think through, we knew it was important. We knew there was a greater need and a growing need. We also knew that it was really hard, even at that time, to find qualified staff. If you just limited it to that, did they have a mental health license or not, to find enough staff. So we tried to think through, okay, what do we need and what is most important when we think about serving our students? And we came up with this just framework for ourselves. At the center of it is student wellness. If a student is not ready, if their basic needs aren't met, if their mental and emotional state is not in a great place, they're not going to be ready to learn, which means that they're going to be in the classroom and they're going to be disengaged or they're going to be upset. And that's going to be a challenge for the teacher. That could be a challenge for the peers in their classroom with them. So our primary goal was, how do we make sure that students come to class ready to learn and have all their needs met? To do that, we looked at trauma-informed care. We took a dive into our own supportive guidance and counseling services. And we also looked at, what do we need to do prevention-wise before the outburst happens in class, before a student's emotions become dysregulated? How can we equip them early on? And in doing that, we found 3 areas that we really wanted to dive into and build some foundational work for our staff. The first was the social emotional support. And this for us meant, how do we make sure that our staff know how to be that supportive person? We have a mix of social workers and counselors, but we also have a mix of staff who are amazing that do not have the background in active listening. They didn't learn necessarily about the ethics while they were in school. And so we took a lot of time to make sure they knew how to connect with students, how to reflect and validate those feelings and emotions that students were sharing, and building their social emotional support skills. We also took a look at, how do we help our staff know, one, what is school culture and climate? How can they engage in that? How can they help the school identify areas that they might be seeing and hearing from their students and build up that positive culture? And sometimes those are just as simple things as, how do we make it a welcoming space in our office? Can we be mindful that sometimes the posters that we put up are letting them know, you've got this, you can do it, I'm here for you. Or even just creating spaces around the campus where when a student is upset or does need a break, that they can go and just regroup. And then finally, we took a look at that mental and behavioral health side and tried to think through, what do we need to do to shore up our own services with those licensed individuals, which is where our mental health coordinators came in. And so that was our framework that we started with 6 years ago. From that, we have really dived into making sure that all of our staff have the skills and the tools they need, regardless of their educational background, that when a student is experiencing a mental or behavioral need or crisis, they know how to respond. And we've done that a lot through our training and our partnerships with groups in the community. I believe those are on my next slide. Yes. So I heard CIS of Laredo mention it too. Mental health first aid for youth has been a required training for our staff. So within the first 60 days that they join our team, we partner with our local mental health authority, which up here is Denton MHMR. And so they're a great team. They work with us every month and provided training for all of our new staff. And then we also require staff who haven't gone through it in 3 years to repeat the training. So it's really important for us that everyone knows and is mindful of what to look for and what to be aware of for students when it comes to mental health and wellness. We also train all of our staff in the Ask Suicide Prevention model, again, to be aware and mindful that when you hear something or when you see something, or you're just talking to a teacher as they describe the needs that they're seeing with a student, you have that in the back of your head to know, here's what I might need to ask, or here's what I might need to check on a little bit more, because we want that whole student wellness piece to be always a priority. This last year and a half, we've started to really dive into some trauma-informed practices. We started training our staff on trust-based relational interventions, TBI for short. That has been an amazing tool for our staff, just to kind of think and reframe how we talk about our kids. For one, they come from hard places. They come from challenging things, and that's puts them in the position to overcome those and empower those. And so they're giving that language to, you're not where you come from, you are who you are, and we're going to help you get through and become the great inspire. And with all of that happening, also some of those skills around looking students in the eyes and the soft tones and the language, and helping students learn to ask and use their voice in positive and constructive ways when they feel starting to become a little dysregulated. And that's been a training and an ongoing process for our staff this year, as well as the zones of regulation. We want to make sure staff can identify the different zones and the levels, so that when they see a kid coming in or when they get called to the classroom, they can quickly assess, okay, here's where we're at and here's where we need to get to be. And let's pull out from our toolbox some of these different skills that we can do, so that the student can feel safe again, can feel calm again, and can go back into the classroom. And so that's has been really important for us, that we equip our staff with those skills for first aid and mental health, for suicide prevention, and for trauma-informed practices. In addition to that, we have looked at some curriculum that our staff can use, and that has been really great, because I imagine, like what it is for a lot of people on campus, you can get pulled in a lot of different directions. And even with the best of intentions, you want to spend your time creating curriculum and work that is going to really address the needs of your students. We have looked into two. One is called Y Tribe by Christian Moore. It breaks down different emotional and self-regulation tools in a way that helps kids look at and visualize it. They have one that talks about spiraling, and you're going up and down a roller coaster. And so if a site coordinator gets called into a classroom from a teacher to say, hey, can you help me? I'm having a really hard time with my student getting him back on track. That site coordinator can come into the classroom talk to the student about, hey, do you feel like you're on a roller coaster? You know, it's like highs and lows. And that imagery really helps a student. And so being able to get them back on track, they can pull from those toolboxes. We also use the Search Institute's developmental relationships. Again, building those strong relationships with students so that when they are feeling out of place and they are feeling a little lost, they know and have that connection already that you're a safe person and they can trust you. So those are some of the key trainings and curriculum that we use. And besides the individual and the one-on-one work and sometimes you just get called here and there for help, we also focus our training on work with our tier 2 services. And so for us in North Texas, a lot of that is group work. And so on my next slide, I show just a few of our tier 2 services. A lot of our campuses, regardless of the grade level, do student small groups. And so they might be focusing on selective skills like executive functioning, coping strategy, problem solving. What is a healthy relationship? How do you have conversations that can be a disagreement, but how do you have them in a positive way? And so that's the preventative work of let's give you the skills now so that when you find yourself in a place, you can draw on that. And so they'll do a lot of work through small groups. They'll also partner with the school counselors and teachers to do classroom groups. So counselors are tasked with teaching that character enrichment or guidance lessons. A lot of our elementary staff will partner with the counselors. The counselor might go through the month of October and teach how to solve problems or how to be a good friend. And our site coordinator will work with them to come through a second time in the month and do a follow-up related to the same topic. So kids aren't just hearing it once, but they get to hear it twice. And the counselor and the site coordinator are doing this collaboratively. So they're getting to see all of the kids, again, building those relationships and teaching those skills. And then lastly, one of the things that we do is really try to provide opportunities for our parents around education and engagement. We don't want them to not know, and we know sometimes conversations around mental health can be concerning because no one wants to feel like they have a label on them, but sometimes parents just need to know, how do I help my kid when they get upset? How do I address this behavior? How can I get my student back on track? How can I, as a parent, calm myself down when I'm getting frustrated with my kid? And so just giving those opportunities and roundtables for, all right, let's talk about what stress looks like. Let's talk about what it looks like for you. Let's talk about what it looks like for your kids. And here's the skills we're teaching the kids. Here's how you could practice it at home. And then also making sure that we are reinforcing that everybody has mental health and everybody has to take care of their own mental health. And so whether we learn the skills to do on our own or we need outside help or an outside person to talk to, we want to make sure our families know how to access those behavioral and mental health services. And so we incorporate that into our parent education as well. But that in a nutshell is how we have approached mental and behavioral health in North Texas, and really making sure that everyone on our team knows that they have the skills and the tools to address whatever comes up on campus. And if they feel unsure, they also have a team behind them to ask questions and seek additional support. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Tasha. I'm coming. There I am. Sorry. Thank you so much for your presentation and your information concerning the supports, very specifically for this day, the Tier 2 supports that are happening in North Texas. And so there were several amazing questions in the Q&A. And one of the ones that I'd like to address is, will CIS be able to provide mental health supports to more schools? So one of the things that we talk about is, number one, love that you're interested and excited in seeking these supports and services. I wanted to add this link here. And so in this link, you will be able to find your local communities and schools that you can reach out to. I also did, I'm not sure how the answers show up in the Q&A, but I did want to let you know that for the cost question and what does that look like based on the region, that CIS affiliates are, the 27 are separate nonprofit organizations, and they develop their own independent funding structures. So the specific costs of the program are negotiated with the local education agencies, or the LEAs, and those can vary around the state based on differing resources and geographic regions, grants, things of that nature. And so we do very much encourage you, if you are interested, to either tap into the current community and school structure that is already existing in your area, or to seek a new connection or collaboration with communities and schools. We definitely encourage you to check this link, and we are looking forward to really expanding that work and really driving and supporting students in a way that is collaborative and holistic. So I did, in an effort to, I would love for our presenters to come back on. I have just a couple of questions that I would love to dive into and get your perspective on. So one of the things I would love for you to dive into just a bit is, what is a mental behavioral health initiative that your region or your affiliate is kind of excited about driving into this next year, or deepening the work that has already been happening? Oh, volley to anyone who feels like they're like, yes, me.
I think for us, we're really wanting to put some more effort into our families and our adults, and making sure that we're not just looking at our students, but we're looking at their parents and those adults that work with students. We have done some work here and there on supporting our teachers with school skills and tools that they can use in the classroom and with our parents, but we are really looking at how do we do more of that, because if the adults in the lives of children are thriving and their mental and emotional health is well and strong, then that's only going to increase our students' success.
In our case, Sarah, we're looking into diving in a little bit more into parental involvement and bringing in group presentations for parents on mental wellness. I think that's an area we were lacking a little last year, so we want to push more to do that, hopefully in early January, as soon as we come back from the break, starting with the Hawk Foundation grant with those 5 schools, pushing in for parental involvement presentations. Again, partnering with the parental involvement from the district. We service those 5 schools. So that's something big that we have coming up in January. And like I mentioned earlier, hopefully being able to keep the Hawk Foundation grant, not only for the 5 schools, but hopefully next year extend that to more schools.
Hear that, super excited. I love that, the extension and the drawing in of that, of not only community but the parental involvement in both affiliates is really going to be a highlight. I remember Tasha talking about, even as we still recover from COVID and things of that nature, parental involvement is imperative as we drive this work forward with students. We have 5 more minutes, and I would love for you. So one of the premise, a strong premise for the CIS model and CIS work is really driving those relational practices with students and families and communities. Was wondering if you each could talk through a little bit of what are some best practices that your affiliate uses or trains your site coordinators on in really driving those best practices?
Through our program here in Laredo, just like Communities in Schools empowers our students, one of the best practices we use is establishing that relationship, building that trust with the student, the relationship. We honestly believe that without that relationship, it would be difficult to connect with the student. And so we work with students from all walks of life with different situations. And so ultimately the goal is for us to remove those barriers. That's probably the one thing that at every single staff meeting, we motivate our coordinators to continue pursuing them, the students to continue working with them and being consistent. That's key. Without that consistency, it's going to be difficult to maintain that relationship. But if we are those caring individuals, if we are the safe place for those students, no matter where we are, these students are going to come and find us for the same reason, because we are that individual that they may need in their life. And we want all our kids to be successful, no matter what path they follow. So that's definitely one of the things that we do here in Laredo. We're all in for kids.
I hear that. And I've definitely seen that for myself. So thank you for sharing that. And I love that you highlighted a best practice of consistency, knowing that with consistency and building a relationship is a trauma-informed practice, right? So if you say, I'm going to be there at this time, or we're going to meet at this time, maintaining that consistency is very important for students to who have had traumatic or experiences, or who are continuing to build that relationship. So thank you for sharing that, Gabby. Any curricula or any best practices that you guys focus on in North Texas, Tasha?
Yeah, when you asked the question, what came to mind was the consistency. So I love that Gabby mentioned it. The other thing that comes to mind is modeling the behavior that we're looking for. And so throughout our whole organization, from supervisors to support staff down to our interns, part of it is just modeling the care and the compassion and the active listening and the validation for our staff. And so we have a model of support that we provide to our staff where there's constant checking in, not of checking in on numbers, like how are your kids, how are your stats, but how are you feeling? What's going on in your life? Is there something I can do to help remove the barrier that you're facing that's going to make your life easier? And if we can model that and that our staff can feel what that looks like, it makes it a whole lot easier to model that same thing that you're receiving to your students. And so I think for us, that's a key best practice as well.
I love that. Was actually something that I also got from Round Rock ISD, in the way that they were speaking about positive mindset and culture, and how do we model this and train in a way that has teachable moments in every aspect. So once again, as we close our time for communities and schools today at the Tier 2 component, I want to thank each one of you for presenting and sharing the great work that's happening in your region. So Rohana, thank you.